A lot can happen in a year. 1 year ago, in November 2019, a proof of concept experiment at SC19 in Denver won an award at the Supercomputing Conference. Just a year later, in November of 2020, that same technology is being deployed in Utah to increase broadband access for education and healthcare. I'm Charla Bochichio, and welcome to the SC20 News Desk. My guests are all from the Utah Education and Telehealth Network at the University of Utah. Will you each introduce yourselves? We'll start with Jim.
Sure. Thanks, Charla. Good to be here with you. I'm Jim Stewart. I'm the CTO of the UETN network.
Hi, I'm Kat Shimizu, and I'm a project manager here at UETN Tech Services.
Hi, I'm John Desha. I'm a system administrator.
I'm Bryan Peterson, Associate Director over Enterprise Systems and Software Development at UETN.
So how did last year's SC19 CBRS experiments in Colorado lead to this year's Utah deployments by UETN?
Last year at SC19, there was a technology challenge, and we were pretty excited to be a part of that. And our timeline was that we were going to prove out this technology and see how it would work. And then we had a list of things that we wanted to prove at SC19 last year, such as it wouldn't interfere with the Wi-Fi, that it would be stable, that we could, get people to be able to use it and benefit from it. And we want to be able to move more than a gig of traffic over one link, and we were able to cover the entire SC19 showroom floor with just 3 radios. And those are the kinds of things that we're just trying out. And then from there, we looked at, and we were going to do a really truncated pilot where we were going to put in an EPC core ourselves, but then have only 4 schools on that pilot. And because of the pandemic, because of the CARES project, we were able to expand that greatly and do a lot more.
So it's an interesting concept, HPC networking and public education. They may seem like kind of odd bedfellows, but you all are finding out otherwise. How does that pairing work well? Why is it a great relationship?
Before you go, Bryan, I just say that one of the things that really worked out well at SC19, and you normally would have, you got research universities there and a lot of these large companies, and then they're more interested in this research space. And yet it was our K-12 folks that brought this idea to us initially. And so that's why we got involved with K-12, and they seem to be driving this space right now. So I think Bryan's going to just cover a little bit more of this too.
Yeah. So, I mean, UETN, that's our thing, right? Is education. And when you boil down to it, research, higher ed, K-12, libraries, all that stuff, all the people that we work together as our stakeholders, that's their focus is education. And you boil down to research, that's education, it's learning. And so it's not that odd, right? I mean, we work together to bring forth education, and that's really the whole point. And kind of back to your last one, was how does the CBRS thing? It extends our network. We had really good networking out to the school, out to the premise of the school, in the school, for the students and everything that's connected, and then maybe even wireless in the school. But then when you take CBRS and you add it onto it and you push that LTE out, you can actually reach beyond that edge of the school. You can reach out into the home, as Jim had mentioned, that it's extending our network and getting that education reach that much further into the homes. And it kind of levels that playing field for your students that don't have that access. And it's really helpful to be able to provide those services to especially the underserved.
It's all about accessibility, right?
It's accessibility, and accessibility to that education, and whether it's research or your K-12 elementary school, it needs to get out there. It needs to get there. It needs to get to them in their home.
So is this happening before the pandemic?
Go ahead, Bryan.
So we were underfoot already, as Jim had mentioned, that we were, planning and to give credit where credit is due, Jason Ayer with Murray School District, who led the effort at SC19 last year, he came from the rural area of Utah and was just trying to reach out to his students and was looking for a way to get access to all of his students everywhere. And when he'd come back to Murray, he'd also found the same issue where students, there were students that didn't have access. And so we had already had the project underway, but CARES kind of accelerated it. Let's say, took it from first gear and put it into fifth gear really fast.
Right. Well, and as long as we're mentioning Jason, we should mention Joe Breen. He's there at the Center for High Performance Computing at the University of Utah, and it was Joe and Jason that really led the effort and did all of the legwork. I didn't have time last year to focus on this, and so it was the two of them that put all of this together for SC19.
Great, excellent. Well, I'm all of the students are grateful that this technology is out there, especially now with the pandemic. It's changed so much. So how are you all and your colleagues collaborating to address the challenges of the pandemic?
Online.
At work, all of this online, yeah.
I mean, everything is moved online.
Please, John, tell us more.
It shows how important the network is now more than ever. We're collaborating, we're meeting. All of our meetings are online. My kids are in online school, so they're all four of us are home using the internet every day. I had to upgrade my Wi-Fi last month. And it's great though. It's working really well. Having the internet access and the networking in place before the pandemic hit put us in a position where we were really ready to go at it online. And now we're expanding it. I like this project where we're moving to wireless and going to be able to reach more houses.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, what we're trying to do, and again, Jason Ayers is kind of leading the way. He's got a lot of ideas and a lot of methods to push that into the classroom. But it's, with the CARES project, what was really with the CARES funding coming through COVID-19, we were able to accelerate our project and get to the point where in the next couple weeks we'll actually have an LTE network up and running. And we'll be able to push that out to the students in a short period of time here, which is probably inconceivable to go from nothing to a full LTE network at 27 different sites across the state of Utah in a 6-month period of time. I mean, if you told me that we were going to do that in June, I would have said, please don't invite me. Because that's a lot of work, and now we're dead into the middle of it, and well, probably at the end of it actually, and we're getting really close, and we're learning every day. I mean, there's something new every time we meet. We're like, oh wait, we can do this. Yeah, let's go this way, and so it's taking in all aspects of things. It's allowing them to extend their wireless network out. These school districts, they can extend that out to reach more students. They can extend their reach on their campuses for their camera and security systems, so they can keep people safe. And probably the one thing that I think Jim brought out when we were talking about this the other day is, as those students come in and those bring your own device kind of things, at some point we can stick a second SIM card into student devices and capture them as they walk through the door. And now they are on our network, and we can make sure they have the best experience for the educational materials that they need. And they're on our network, so they get to the things they need and they don't get to the things they don't need.
Understood.
So really moving forward, it's all about the use cases. And that's what we've done. And what this project has allowed us to do is to put the core in place. That's the brains behind everything. To put the radio access networks out in all of these 25 locations, and then to put the user equipment in their hands. And so we want the users to start experimenting with this, trying it, working on these use cases, and then documenting those use cases, so that we've got a fail fast mentality that if not everything's going to work great, but we're going to find what works, what doesn't work. We're going to document that. We're going to move forward with that. And there are going to be some really great opportunities in the future. We're going to work on access so that not only when you go into a UETN site will you be able to have just an automatic access to our LTE network. We will also be able to do that where we'll partner with perhaps commercial providers in the state of Utah, perhaps other education entities throughout the United States, perhaps throughout the world. And if we could put all of this together, and there's just so many things that can be done. And then we can extend that classroom out beyond the walls of the campuses and the footprint of the campuses. And now some of that has to, E-rate's got to change, and we've got to be able to do that, or we've got to purchase separate circuits that are not paid for with E-rate dollars. But we can work through all of those as we learn from this. But right now we're in such an incredible learning mode, and I've got to go back 30 years in my career to go back to a time that felt like this. That things are changing so rapidly. We're going to go buy a radio. It extends a certain way. It does a certain thing, and all of a sudden, before we can even get a purchase, there's a new radio that's come out, and there's and we're trying to figure out how do we move the data. And with K-12, we've got to filter it. So how do we do the filtering? And so every day, like Bryan said, we're learning something new every day, and we're documenting that. And we're getting to work with our colleagues around the country on figuring out how to do this. And then we're right with CBRS, which is this new way of looking at spectrum. So there's 150 megahertz of spectrum available, but nobody owns any specific slice of that. Even the PAL licenses, they're not a specific slice of that, and they're not. And when they're not on, when a PAL license holder isn't on, that spectrum is then available for any of the general access licenses. And so it's an incredible time to be part of this and to play around with this technology. And I really think that there are great opportunities, and it's going to come back and benefit our students, but also the SC community and all of us that are working in that area.
Excellent.
There's a lot to be learned.
It is an exciting time, and it feels kind of like the sky's the limit here. You're right. It's just it's exponential, this progress that we're making.
Well, I think that, it's all about these guys. These guys, are working so hard, they're working night and day to make this happen. And even with that, it's crazy. But, we all feel very blessed to have this opportunity to, especially like we say, reaching out to those who don't have the access. Like, we walk in our house and we have internet. There are people that don't. And these kids who don't, we feel so blessed to give this to them. But, as far as, how we're working and collaborating with all this technology, it's really made us very agile in this new environment, right? So we are always trying to think ahead, trying to think of new ideas. And, as a project manager, I always say the best ideas come in as a group. And so with, us working with the schools, the IT areas and directors and, all the departments, even within UET and tech services, so much collaboration going on and the best ideas. So like you said, what's next, who knows? There's so much, so many ideas coming out. So, but these guys are doing amazing and working so hard. So,
yeah.
Kat, you want to mention the other big project that you're part of that's complementary to what we're doing?
Yeah, with the COVID, working with this other project again is we want these kind of wireless and Wi-Fi solutions to allow the kids not to just be in the classroom, to be outside, to be, distancing, and there's another project called the Wireless Improvements, where they're bringing in Wi-Fi 6 to all the schools. And we're working with over 130 schools and districts, charters and districts, and bringing technology in. So they have so many stories, like they're saying, okay, we're putting it in the gym, and but if it's in the gym, we need to cover them so they don't use them as target practice, and that's crazy. It's so funny, to learn, right. What's the reality in these schools, but, and they're all working hard because not only tech services, but all these schools and districts, they're doing their day-to-day job. And then on top of this, with the CARES And again, they all feel very blessed to be able to, add this new technology into their schools. And, they're like, yes, okay, so now we have it outdoors, and we have it here. And, they're able to get services now, not next year, not later, but now to their students. So it's been great working with them.
Great. Sounds good. Any other final words from anyone? Yeah, Jim.
The last thing, and I'd like John to just talk about, he is the one on the front line. He's got the EPC core put together. He's had to work on making sure that it can route and talk out to these other devices. And John, if you could just take a couple of minutes and just mention about your learning experience, what you've gotten out of it, and anything else you want to share with us about that.
Sure. It's really been a collaborative effort, right? Everybody came to the table with a little bit of different knowledge. And when we meet and do these 5-hour working sessions through WebEx, we make progress every time, because every stumbling block you hit, someone has a solution for. And I've learned a lot of new things. Brian's learned a lot of new things. It's been a lot of fun. We reach out to other people around the country when we have questions, and it's like they're in the room with us. So every day we make a little bit of progress, and it's amazing how fast it all comes together. And one day you click one last time, you're like, hey, it's working. Everybody can now hop on the network.
It's really great stuff. Well,
was,
thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, it was a huge relief. The one day we were messing around with the drop-off box at Murray School District and can't get it working, can't work. We just find one little setting that we had to tweak, and boom, all of a sudden we're passing traffic. And it's like, yeah, it is like after those hours of work, and you're thinking, oh, finally, it's made it. It's made it.
It all pays off. Great. Yeah. Well, you guys are doing some really great work, some important work. So thank you for that. So we've been speaking with Jim Stewart, Bryan Peterson, John Desha, and Kat Shimizu with the Utah Education and Telehealth Network at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. I'm Charla Bochichio, inviting you to stay tuned to learn more about the International Conference for High Performance Computing, Networking, Storage, and Analysis here at the SC20 News Desk.